All right. So, whoops. I've acquired what I need in order to compile VSTs with JUCE. I've also gone through a whole slew of uninstalling and reinstalling operating systems because absolutely nothing ever works. But that is the natural way of things. And I cannot complain. 1280. Oh, my configuration is all funny. Well, alright. Let's see. Stream, right? Output. Streaming. See, it lets me pick all this stuff like bit rate, but it doesn't say anything about the actual resolution I'm streaming at. How do I... saying I'm streaming at 1148 by 646. What a strange... Constant bit rate, variable bit rate, automatic bit rate, constant RF. I don't know what that means. CPU usage higher equals less CPU usage. Profile. Tune. I don't know. Let me just try upping the bitrate. Oh, and that message has gone away. I'm not sure if that's going to be an issue or not, but I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, so it's been forever since I did any of this, and I'm sure I'm not going to remember anything, but I'm just going to try to sort of pick up somewhere where I left off. I'm pretty sure I've been through this tutorial, but really all these tutorials are generally familiarizing myself with the classes and how they interact with each other, because it's all sort of arbitrary, and it's like learning it's not even like learning how to use a tool. It's like memorizing how to use a tool. So that's fine. And what it's gonna end up being like probably is, once I've worked my way through all these things, I'm just gonna end up going back to them and copying and pasting code and then modifying it, and that's when I'm gonna actually learn it. Ugh. So is there even any reason to walk through the tutorials instead of just trying to chop up the code until I get something that works? Probably still worth walking through the tutorials, at least so that I'm generally familiar with it, so that when I come to the thing to copy and paste the code, I'll know what I'm looking for. But I'm really not super confident that it'll have been that useful to have walked through these tutorials. But because the idea of actually just downloading all the tutorials and then chopping up code as I think I might need it, I can't remember how I started that sentence, but that's much too intimidating, and so walking through the tutorials is what I will do. So I'm looking at the build a MIDI synthesizer tutorial. It's saying that handling MIDI events and building a sine wave synthesizer are tutorials that I'll want to have gone through already. Those I definitely have. So I'm gonna go to what I'm gonna do here. Home, and I'm gonna start a new JUCE development. I'm gonna save it there. Right, that's the zip though. I don't really need the zip, but whatever. I'll extract this there. Show the files. Synth using MIDI input tutorial. I'm going to drop the file into the Producer. Bada bing, bada boom. Got my main.cpp. And I got my synth using MIDI input tutorial. And that's going to be .h, right? It's the header file. And I cannot. Oh, I can. It's just really slow. Why is it really slow? I don't know. So, alright, we got a demo project. Now, can I compile this and run it? Because, okay, the explanation for also what I gave up on last time is trying, like, I was like, oh, people like to edit in their IDEs. And I was like, screw it. Forget using an IDE. I don't have an IDE that I like to use currently, so why not just do it all in the Producer? It's not like I'm a C++ developer who's trying to learn JUCE. I'm an idiot who's trying to learn JUCE and C++ at the same time because I want to have the skills to learn to make audio plugins. So why not just completely use JUCE? But then the question is, can I compile from here? It looks like it. Build, enable compilation. Enable compilation. Oh, it didn't work a second time. All right. So, should I find an earlier? Yeah, let me go back to the tutorials and see if it. I mean, it just. I feel like it just says, and then open it in your IDE and run it from there. But obviously, this has a build option, even though build now is grayed out, and I can't enable compilation. GUI editor. Add new component, add graphic element, tools, document, window, build, view, project settings. What is in project settings? Yeah, I vaguely remember this. Alright. Let's be back here. View, project tab, build tab. What's the build tab? Live build features for Linux under development. Alright. So JUCE is weird with the Producer in that you can like change stuff while the program is open, even if I remember correctly. That's the live build features, I think, but it's under development for Linux, and that's fine. I don't need to be able to change things while it's open. I'm not worried about it, unless live build just means making it in the Producer, and that's not available on Linux yet, which would be frustrating because I gave up so that I could just start going. But that might mean that I need to actually get a hold of an IDE. View, Explorer panel, modules, exporters panel, exporter settings. I know there's somewhere that I check, like, yes, export as legacy SDK. And like don't try to create, VST3 and stuff like that because it'll just yell at me. But again, I'm just not gonna worry about that. So let me Google enable compilation Producer. Compilation Producer. See if anyone else is like, hey, what the heck? Oh, it changed the word Producer into Producer. But yes, I would like to search for Producer. So maybe the producer can only do live, whatever it called it, live build. Enable. Main window controls at the top. The play button is the launch application. Oh, launch application, like the IDE that you want. How do I get back to regular view? Just no files. I don't know what any of this does. So one of the exporters I have is just Linux makefile, which like is something where I can just compile it from the command line, which would be fine. Because I guess I can't do it from here, but I'll keep searching this page. What was it? Enable compilation. Live build engine side panel. It can be access. Come on, JUCE. You're killing me here. It can be access. It can be accessed through the live build tab. What can? The live build engine in the side panel and activated by clicking the enable now button or through the menu items or build and enable compilation. So I don't need live build. I don't want live build. What I do want, excuse me, is, well, okay, so I guess I can check the file manager, right, and see. JUCE development, right? And then I got this, and I got builds, right? Linux makefile, there it is. So open terminal here, and because there's a makefile, I should just be able to type make, and it'll go. Compiling main.cpp. And this will probably take forever, if I remember correctly, like especially the first time, because it's gonna do like this like has imported all like a bunch of JUCE, probably a bunch of unnecessary stuff. Like, you know, I'm not super familiar with how things work, but oh no. All right. Let's find out what went wrong. Compiling include JUCE audio devices. In file included from JUCE library code include JUCE audio devices.cpp. Home John JUCE modules JUCE audio devices.cpp. Fatal error also a sound library.h. No such file or directory. So I will copy that. Find out what the internet has to say about it. Control V. I should search JUCE specifically. Oh, good. Well, I could also just copy and paste this command into my terminal and see if it fixes the whole problem. You know, that's definitely the safe thing to do, is on a page with a bunch of Chinese characters that I obviously can't read, take the only English text followed by the words okay and just paste them right into the terminal. Works every time. I should be a little more careful than that, even though that looks like it's just a library, and it's not even a library. It's probably a dependency of some sort. Screw it, I'm doing it. Oh, because of course they didn't supply the sudo for me. Cool. All right, now let's see if make works. No package libcurl. Do I need to? Okay, chill out for a second. Sudo apt install build essential. I don't think I've done that yet. Oh no, it's all here. Okay, so JUCE dependencies Linux. List of dependency, JUCE dependencies under Linux. That would be really nice. Just a whole big old list. Oh, this guy. Denies. You are the true, real MVP hero. I'm just gonna do all of these. Yeah, cause what's gonna hurt? Wait. Why is this multiple sudo apt? Yeses. Let me make sure no one is like, this broke everything. Alright, he edited it to include that. I know Raspberry is in Ubuntu. Okay, that's fine. Enough people have not freaked out at him saying this is a stupid post. I'm just going to copy all this and see if it works, even though it's weird. It looks like multiple commands. And I know you can do like multiple things, but unable to load. Yeah, okay. So it yeah, that's so weird. So I guess I'll just copy and paste these one by one because it's weird. Already the newest version. Excuse me. Oh yeah, let that text scroll. This is the kind of progress I can get behind. The kind where I just copy and I paste and I just watch things happen, and it makes me feel like I'm getting closer even though I haven't had to do anything. It's the best. Nope. Boy. Alright, what am I doing? Right. List of JUCE dependencies. Paste. Paste. process those triggers, dog. Those triggers are processed AF. I wonder if it's specific to this type of terminal, like the XCFE terminal, that you can't paste multiple commands. It'll be like, hey, what do you mean? Instead of being like, I know what you mean. Which one did I just do that one? libxrandr. Yes, I did. Okay. Paste. Common dev. And this is from January 2011. What are the chances that everything's 100% still relevant? Well, with any luck, the things will have been updated themselves, and I won't be downloading like old versions of things. Just like libx11-dev, I won't actually need libx23 or something. I don't know. I mean, the fact that this stuff is even available, like they're in the standard Ubuntu repository, is probably a good sign. If I got like there is no installation candidate or something, I'd be like, I wonder if there's like a new version. But I'm not gonna worry about it for now. Copy, paste. Copy. Oh, I could have copied it to a shell script, and then it would do all of them. But that's fine. I don't mind doing it by hand. I don't want to have to remember how to make a shell script. Even if it just means Googling whether I need to name it like .sh or something. I don't know. I don't have to deal with that. I'm happy to Control-C, and then you can't Control-V in a terminal. I think it would have to be Control-Shift-V. Maybe that would work. I haven't tried that, but instead you just right-click, so you can be super sure about everything. And I don't know if I need HTTPS/SSL support, but I'll go ahead and get this anyway. Copy. Paste. See, and I also don't understand when you paste it automatically does it versus when you paste it doesn't. I have no clue. Maybe it's because there's a carriage return in the copy and it's like invisible here or something. I don't know. And it's like, oh, you hit enter. It's like, oh, no, it was just in the text I copied. As for LADSPA plugin support, is that the one that's native Linux LADSPA? Or no, that's just the open source one, I think. So, like, probably works on a lot of Linux things, but Linux specific actually has its own VST format, I think. And it's really just a .so file, shared object file. Which one did I just do? libperl4. Cool, sure, I'll go ahead and get a hold of this. Copy. Paste. What? Sudo app.get. Yeah. It was unable to find package. Oh, I added it to the other one. All. Oh, and I've already got it because this is Ubuntu Studio, and they're like, yo, they might want lad spa dot dash SDK. Excuse me. Alright, so I'm still in that same folder, so let me just say make, and we'll see if it does the thing. Compiling JUCE audio form. It got through audio devices, that's good. So where am I looking here? Looking at the file manager. Looking at the build, intermediate, debug. I mean, it's still working, so. It is working, though. The build folder wasn't there before, and it's building. And once it's built, I guess it'll be a file in there. Right, it'll be all the different builds. Because currently it's building what? Target project folder, extra compiler, extra linker, libraries, icon, exporters. Oh, wait, modules? File exporter. I forget how to change what it exports to is decided. About, sign out, say, open, reason, new project, new pip, project, edit, view. Is it project settings? Project version, company, website, email, report, splash, project type. No, it wasn't project settings. Project tab. Well, I guess I'm already looking at it. Show build tab. No. File exporter panel. Oh, Explorer. Right. Exporter settings. Right, that's just for this though. Oh. It's probably just gonna be another thing I need. Fucking dickhole. And this guy's like, whoa, I already got free type 2 installed. So maybe I need to get free type 2 in the first place. Sudo apt install free type 2. Unable to locate. Okay. I might still need free type 2, but let me just see what the rest of Google has to say about it before I find out what it's actually called. Yeah, this is just someone else having a totally different issue with the same-ish error. Actually, I should check because the error actually the same. Okay, that's fine. Let me free type 2 Ubuntu and then see how to install it. might be it, but let me just see if there's one for 18.04, just so I can feel really, really special. 16, 16, 16. Well, maybe it'll be the same in Now, is this gonna be like cool? This PPA? I don't know. How old is this article? Does it even matter? I don't know. Let's see if it fixes everything. Is it thinking? Okay. None of that, please. I am scared by this. Not really scared. Just I don't want to like garbage up my installation doing stupid stuff, adding a bunch of PPAs that I don't need, and then getting everything confused. Let me go back to this search. Let me just add JUCE, see if anyone else has done it the exact same time. I'll put some, I assume DuckDuckGo has the same, like, logic as Google. Once I make JUCE need to be on the web page, the f2build.h doesn't really show up anywhere. I could put quotes around it, I guess, and then it'll give me probably no results because no one has had this specific issue. F2, FT2. Lib free type 6 dash dev. Oh, that's promising. Y'all ready for this banana sudo app pat install fudge. Well, this thing is a sudo apt update. This is so fun. Error. Could not connect. A bunch of stuff just couldn't connect to. That's great. I love just slowly building up all these PPAs that I don't need and then having them all yell at me every time I need to update. It's the worst. Ubuntu sucks. I should have gone with Manjaro. But here I am. Not that I haven't reinstalled this operating system 8 times, literally at least 8 times in the past week, because I've just been trying everything and failing epically at just making everything run smoothly. And only just today have I been reading up on the fact that apparently, kind of counterintuitively, Manjaro, which is based on something that's supposed to be more bleeding edge and therefore less stable, is actually less of a headache because things are available for it and they just work. Which now you think about it, okay, so I actually don't want the stable build, because the stable build is going to be full of headaches trying to get the things you want to work, because you're going to have to do all this special stuff to basically get the newer stuff that is going to make your stuff work. Whereas something like Manjaro is going to have the user something repository where you can just get the stuff. This is awful. I hate it. This is what I really hate. What do I have to Google now? What error did I get? It's just because it doesn't just work. Welcome to Linux, where absolutely nothing just works. But apparently it's not a Linux thing. It's an Ubuntu thing. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe if I tried Manjaro, there would just be just as many other little things. But at least from the little Googling I did today, it seems like people are actually, Manjaro just kind of works. And it's Arch, which is the bleeding edge, but held back just a little bit to make sure it's at least a little bit more stable than super bleeding edge bullshit. Fuck me. Failed to fetch, failed to fetch, failed to fetch. Great. That's fantastic. Why would that be the case? I have no clue. Makes me want to fucking kill myself. Jesus Christ. I could just keep going, but I fixate. There it is. Failed to fetch, failed to fetch, failed to fetch, failed to fetch. What could that be the source of my problem? Maybe one of those is it. I don't know. I can't know. I don't know enough to know. Drives me fucking nuts. It's great. Now that I've updated, I'm going to sudo apt upgrade. 0 bytes of additional data. All right. Fucking worst. I haven't looked at the code yet. I'm just trying to compile the example project. I have learned nothing so far. Didn't mind copying and pasting and installing dependencies. What? Unable to fetch some archives. Maybe run apt get update. Or try with fix missing. Sure. -- fix -- missing. Yep. Great. This just kills me. It kills me. Unable to connect to ppalaunchpad.net. I just don't want to Google any more fucking errors. I don't fucking want to do it. Maybe it meant sudo apt update dash fix dash missing. Still. What a shit show. Might be their servers down. Alright, so it could be a DNS issue or a firewall issue. I don't even know if there's a firewall. Like, I don't even know what the security defaults are on Linux. I'm sure there's spyware and stuff out there for it, but I haven't even looked into like antivirus and anti-spyware software. So it's nothing I've added on those along those lines. He fixed it by setting his ISP's DNS address manually. So I can try that, because that sounds like so much fun. Way better than actually making any progress whatsoever. How does anyone get anything done on Linux, ever? When everything leads to this bullshit. It's just a rabbit hole of Googling issues and then pasting things into the terminal, and then like the thing actually changes. The error you got goes away, and there's just a brand new error right after it. And it's like, I can understand if this is like code you're writing. It's like, ooh, I made another mistake, but at least I found the next mistake I made by clearing up the one mistake I made. But these aren't mistakes I've made. These are things that are just either something you could say maybe it's a mistake I made, it's something I should have gotten, it's a dependency I should have known I needed, should have, is a huge fucking quotes around the word should. But, how the fuck does anyone get anything done on Linux? I can't imagine they do. It's just a huge circle jerk of fixing issues. And you just feel so good when you finally get it fixed. You get the dopamine from fixing errors instead of actually getting anything done. It's probably an inside job, probably like an outside inside job, like Microsoft like has people contributing as much code as possible to the most popular Linux distros, making them as just impossible as possible, so that people say, boy, I really want to go back to Windows. But then, of course, you go back to Windows, and you get the blue screen halfway through downloading all of the updates to your fresh install of Windows 7 because you refuse to install Windows 8 or Windows 10. And then you go right back to Ubuntu, which is what I did, seriously, about 24 hours ago. And it's a miracle I haven't blown my brains out. It's a freaking miracle. I can't even describe how frustrating, how angry it makes me that these things don't just work. And that these things are being added to all the time. If it were a dead project, it'd be like, well, I can't expect anything. But these are popular distributions. Tons of people are running this. And they're not all doing this. Are they? Is everyone going through this all the time? And if so, what are we doing? What are we doing? Alright, what am I finding out? Right, DNS. Sudo get it. Paste. Name server. Put that over here for a hot minute. Maybe I'll just use Google DNS, right? Well, I don't know, because it says, alright, this file is managed by man system resolved. Do not edit. This is a dynamic resolve.com file for connecting local clients to the internal DNS stub resolver of systemd resolved. This file lists all configured search domains. Run systemd resolve status to see details about the uplink DNS servers currently in use. Third-party programs must not access this file directly, but only through the system symlink at etc/resolve.conf. Where did I open it from? There. To manage man resolve.conf in a different way, replace this symlink by a static file or a different symlink. So the fact that this person solved it that way doesn't really make me super confident that I should try changing this, because the file itself says don't change it. These are the ambiguous things you run into. Should I just try again? Alright, get out of here. Launchpad just works now because it was actually a connectivity issue. Shoot me. Shoot me. Shoot me in the head. I don't know whether to be glad or furious. When it says unable to, I mean, what is it? How much information does it give me? Could not connect to. Connection timed out. I mean, I guess that's what I should infer. That it's possible that they're just down, but should that be my default thought about things? That, oh, just the Launchpad PPA, they're probably just down. I don't think that about Google. If I can't get to Google, I'm not like, oh, Google's probably just down. Google's never down. But apparently the Launchpad PPA is, and so I just have to be prepared for that. Hurts my soul. It shreds it into tiny little pieces. Alright, so what am I doing here? Did I get more errors, less errors? Right, I got a new error. This whole ft2build.h. JUCE modules, JUCE graphics. So I guess I'll go back. Oh, it's fucking exhausting. Get out of here. Excuse me. Get out of here. Get out of here. So I could have a different version. I think I've gotten these, but I'll try them anyway. This is talking about building the producer, and I didn't build the producer. Am I supposed to? I can't remember. Up, 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 juice. I mean, it's already here. I feel like before I built the producer. Whereas here, it's just here. Is it an app image here? Is that what it is? Properties. It's just an executable. I don't know if that means it's not an app image. Let me look at the README. Oh, fuck off. I just want to scroll a little bit, but no, it's like page. It says the repository, getting started. The JUCE repository contains a master and develop branch. And that it doesn't contain a pre-built producer, so you'll need to build it for your platform. But that's not true. I have it open right here. So, I mean, yes, the repository doesn't. So what did I get? What a pain. Ugh, kills me. So, maybe something special about Linux because, of course, I just downloaded JUCE and it came with the producer. So, am I supposed to not use this producer? Am I supposed to build the producer from source? Does it matter? No clue. I don't have any clue. Not a clue, even a little bit. Just gonna try what? What am I trying again? Just more of what? What this person recommended or what this person recommended? Well, they changed their name, the name of it, to this, so apparently this was it. Oh boy. Kinger's Frost. Oh. What? What did I just do? Yep. What a bunch of hooey. Ugh. Excuse me. Needs more sugar. I'll go ahead and do the GTK plus dash X11 dash 3.0 also. Yeah. Well, sort of. It doesn't really matter. What's up? At 1. Okay. Yep. Sounds good. Okay. Thank you for the heads up. Do you want to send him down here?
Speaking of making noise, does he want to go out, do you think?
He didn't a minute ago. I'll check, but yeah, he probably just wants to go on a walk, or he might. I'll see. I'm back. Alrighty. Oh, the jet here was super enthusiastic about going outside for about 5 seconds. He chased the toy. And then he was like, this is the best thing in the whole world. And then he ran to the door. He's like, all right, let's go back in. I said, that's fine with me. And that's my story. So where were we? All right. Now that we have the WebKit tools something or other, we shouldn't run into this issue. Wait, how did I do that? So make. Oh boy. Well, I choose graphics. Compile, include JUCE GUI basics. Anything else going on Reddit? Let's find out. Give me some super intelligent response to a super thoughtful comment, I'm sure. Okay. Oh, okay. I use a DAW. It's clear starting college for audio music production. I have no experience. That's for OS, Windows 10. My keyboard. Standard MIDI in and out. If you have any advice as to reputable MIDI cord to buy off Amazon? If not, that's okay. I could just find one. Just curious if you have any advice. JUCE GUI Extra compiling. Linking synth using video tutorial dash app. Alright. So I can come back to this Reddit post later. It appears to have compiled successfully. That's the best news anyone's heard in their entire lives. Close. Thunar File Manager. This is draping on my finger and it's driving me nuts. This microphone is too heavy for the mic stand. And I don't have like a weight to put on it. Alright, what am I looking for? JUCE. JUCE development. Synth. Builds. Wait, Linux make file. Build. Synth using MIDI input tutorial. And what is it? It's a shared library. I don't even know what that means. Intermediate debug. So did it do the thing? I mean, I don't even know. Did it compile into an executable? Did it only compile into one thing? I have to find out where that page is where I tell it what to compile everything into. Extra compiler flags. That's not it. Package config libraries. Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts. Where is it? Release. Name, duo, and binary, header search path, extra library search path, pre-processor definitions, link time optimizations, architecture, notes. It's all the same there. All the same options anyway. Right. Don't optimize anything when you're just doing debugs because You want it to go through all the stuff normally without taking any shortcuts that will confuse you. Even if they make it faster. Pro Juicer. What? I just want to know where. Is it this button? How did I get here? What is this? Project name, project version, company. Oh no, I've been here. Definitely already been here. Gosh darn it all. Pro Juicer. VST. Legacy. Let's just see if this gets me somewhere close. Producer manual. That sounds pretty good. Sign in, license, new project, global paths, legacy. The following table shows module-specific settings for all the included JUCE modules. Is it in modules? Audio devices, audio formats, processors, utils, structure, event, graphics. Audio plugin client. It's not here. It's the only word legacy. All right, VST. This is not true anymore. All the files you need to create VST and AU are packaged with JUCE because they're not allowed to distribute the VST libraries anymore because who is it that owns them? Is it Avid or something? Somebody we really can trust. Anyway, they are no longer included. Well, I'll keep searching. You can also set the global paths for your plugin SDKs and Android SDKs in the same window. Yes, I'm aware of that. Alright, the following settings allow you to build different plugin formats within the same. When the project is set to an audio plugin, you will find different settings on the same page. So this is just not an audio plugin. So what is it? Synth using MIDI input. But it's not going to be a plugin? It's not going to just kind of automatically... compile as a plugin? Alright, let me go back to the thing. Demo project. Download the demo project, unzip the project, open the first header file. This is the worst. I just want to know how to just make it exist. I did make properties, permissions. I can't even run it as a file. I can't even give it permission to make it runnable. Terminal. /synth. There it is. I was just able to run it. Okay, guys, check it out. Here's the plugin that I didn't write, and I'm about to read through the code line by line, not line by line, just read through the tutorial, which will explain pieces of the code, chunk by chunk. Right. So it just created this little program that is not a plugin, which is why I wasn't able to specify for it to be a VST or a LADSPA. See, can you imagine this? It's taken me an hour and 14 minutes to get up and running. It just makes me want to stop and go to sleep. It really does. But instead, I'm just going to get a little more coffee, and I'm just going to put so much sugar in it. I'm going to put an unreasonable amount of sugar in it. Let's see. Scene 2. Get this out of here. Text. Okay. BRB. And then outline it. What's the color 1 and color 2 without the select? See, why is it a gradient? That's stupid. And I can't tell it what color the outline should be. That's just ridiculous. Okay, and then I get to make this nice and big. Wow, look at my streaming skills, guys. That looks terrible. You can't give me some high resolution text? Okay. Yo, this uses free type too. Maybe that was the issue, is that it was picking up on whatever this one had downloaded or installed or whatever as a dependency. Custom text width. I don't know. What happens when you get 50? BRB. You really, like, can't just say, give me some, like, vector text? It's gotta be this pixely piece of crap. That's just astounding. I mean, that's terrible. Streamers are supposed to use this? It's an embarrassment. Well, burb. got the same cup of coffee with 5 or 6 times the sugar. That's the ticket. Alright, so I've got this sine wave thing, and it uses this keyboard, and the keyboard's like built into JUCE. It's got its own like keyboard object, which would be great if keyboards didn't suck and I weren't going to just remake everything from scratch, but that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's just gonna be fine. I'll just have to just make everything that's fine. And everything that's not fine will be fine. Alright, so it's open here, but I'm gonna close it. I can always just open it again. Alright. So, don't need to worry about that. I now know that the thing is different if it's a thing. Thank goodness for O. Joshua Olsen. 1. Got the dependencies. No more errors. Producer manual. Enable compilation. Tutorials. Build a MIDI synthesizer. Move this out of the way. Move this out of the way. I need to not eat my fingers. Oh, it's going to drive me nuts. Excuse me. So what did it say? Open the project and open the first header file. File Explorer. Header file. I don't know why my neck is itchy. Dry? Or is it actively irritated? Well, I'm gonna put some I thought this sunblock was also like hydrating lotion, so who cares, but might not even have any hydration properties. Might just be sunblock. But how can you make a sunblock that's a lotion and not have it at least be a little bit hydrating, because it's wet? Can you imagine, like, it feels like, oh, you know how bad it is? But it's crap from the attic. Moving boxes around and probably getting insulation on my neck. That's great. That's fantastic. Ugh. Just tiny little strings of glass. Not even shards, strings. This tutorial makes use of the JUCE synthesizer class to implement a polyphonic synthesizer. This shows you all the basic elements. What is this? Let me just rewrite your crap for you, JUCE. This tutorial shows you all the basic elements, or this example project, or this example producer file, whatever. What the heck? That's really gonna drive me nuts. Why is everything itchy? Alright, this project thing, tutorial thing, shows you all the basic elements needed to customize the synthesizer with your own sounds and your own applications. Excuse me. There are various classes needed to get this to work. And in addition to our standard main content component class, these are synth audio source. This implements a custom audio source class called synth audio source. This implements. This what? The writing is god awful. It's ambiguous and frustrating. Are you talking about the project? The synth audio, because at first the synth audio source, the synth audio source implements a custom audio source called synth audio source. Synth audio source implements a custom audio source called synth audio source? No, probably this project. Ambiguity isn't a big deal when the context is sufficient. But one, you can't always be sure the context is going to be sufficient. And two, when you're doing something formal, like a tutorial, you don't want to rely on context regardless. You want to be extra explicit, borderline redundant, because it's a formal teaching material. Come on, people. Get your heads in the game. Fudge muffins. All right. Gotta keep going, even though I get distracted by the fact that it's written badly, and then I go on a tangent and a rant. Synth audio source. This implements a custom audio source called synth audio source, which contains the synthesizer class itself. The synth audio source, which is an implementation of audio source, contains the synthesizer class. It contains the class. This outputs all of the audio from the synthesizer. God, this again. Fuck this writing. No, just fuck this, right? Shoot me. Shoot me in the head. All right. Another class it uses is sine wave voice. This is a custom synthesizer voice. Class called sine wave voice. A voice class renders one of the voices of the synthesizer, mixing it with the other sounding voices in a synthesizer object. A single instance of a voice class renders one voice. Okay. And then sine wave sound. This contains a custom synthesizer sound called sine wave sound. A sound class is effectively a description of the sound that can be created as a voice. For example, this may contain the sample data for a sampler voice or the wavetable data for a wavetable synthesizer. Now, interestingly, I guess for performance's sake, I'll probably be creating wavetables on the fly, but it would be kind of interesting because if I want to make dynamic tonality stuff with like changing overtone structures, like sampling definitely isn't the way to go unless you want to unless you're trying to create just a 13-Ito timbre, in which case you can maybe generate it and then create a non-real time, a real high quality sample, and then just use the sample in real time, which actually might be worth doing because the DT, the dynamic tonality synths from dynamictonality.com have performance issues. And probably not if you have really good hardware or whatever, but I've had performance issues with them. And that probably wouldn't be such a big deal if instead of doing all the thinking in real time and being ready at any moment for you to change that slider, it'd be nice if you could just hit a check mark that says, lock the slider here, bang out a high quality sample so that you don't have to think really hard. Bang it out at, well, you could, of course, do discrete pitches, just given the available gamut you have, but you could also just say bang it out within 1 cent increments. It'd be a huge amount of data, but who cares? That's what sample libraries are for taking up huge amounts of space on your hard drive. See? Eating my fingers, and it's going to hurt later. It's going to hurt and I'm going to be angry about it. And I'm laughing about it, but it's not funny. All right, the sine wave sound is used by the sine wave voice. The sine wave voice is used by the synthesizer, which is contained within the synth audio source, which is an implementation. It's a custom audio source. Setting up the keyboard, right? Because we do have it. They had it so that it takes keyboard input, which I didn't mess around with at all. But it takes keyboard input. Our main content component class contains the following data members: synth audio source thing, MIDI keyboard state thing, and MIDI keyboard component. I wonder if the keyboard state is the piano keyboard state or the computer keyboard state. The synth audio source and keyboard component members are initialized in the main content component constructor. So let's find that main content component. Am I in the header file? Yes. Here we go. It says the main content component class contains the following data members. I don't really get it. So there's all this public stuff up here and private down here. And here's where the declarations are. I guess they're at the bottom. That's the way it works. Still eating my fingers. All right. The synth audio source and keyboard component members are initialized in the main content component constructor. So you got main content component and then synth audio source and keyboard component. When we initialize them, the synth audio source, we pass in the keyboard state, and the keyboard component, we pass in the keyboard state and the MIDI keyboard component, horizontal keyboard. Right? That's what we're looking at over here. Yep. And then add and make visible keyboard component, set audio channels to, set size, and that's the content component specifically that we're changing, and start timer. In order that we can, isn't that just wrong? In order that we can. In order for us to be able to start playing the keyboard. In order that. I mean, I realize that's probably not even like a syntactical issue. It's more of a general usage pattern problem. But I'm pretty sure people don't say that, or that it's like weird. In order for us to be able to start playing the keyboard from the computer's keyboard, we grab the keyboard focus just after the application starts. To do this, we use a simple timer that fires after 400 milliseconds. Void timer callback override. Keyboard component. Keyboard component dot grab keyboard focus, and then stop timer. I don't really understand. We use a simple timer that fires after 400 milliseconds. The 400 was said start timer 400. Oh, void timer callback. So that's just closing out the timer. When the timer stops, or when the timer hits 400, they're like, hey, grab the keyboard stick, focus. And then stop the timer because you don't need it anymore. We already grabbed the keyboard focus. Apparently that's something you need to do. Ugh. Audio app component functions. The application uses the audio app component to set up a simple audio application. The three required pure virtual functions simply call... I forget what pure virtual functions are. Oh, functions that have to be defined because they were in a parent class or something. That might be the case. I don't remember. Void prepare to play. Yeah, three required pure virtual functions. The three required pure virtual functions simply call the corresponding functions in our custom audio source class. Void prepare to play, which takes in the samples per block expected and a double the sample rate. Let me say call the synth audio source prepare to play. And then if we get next audio block, we do synth audio source get next audio block. And void release resources, synth audio source to release resources. And then synth audio source class does a little more work, which makes sense because we're making it do all the things that we just called. Excuse me. Okay, so the main content component extended the audio app component and timer. Timer was just for the thing, the keyboard. Then audio app component, I assume, is the application used the audio app component to set up the audio application. And it's the audio app component that had the pure virtual functions that needed to be called, and we called them, but we didn't really tell them what to do. We just said call them in the custom class we were about to write and we're about to talk about. And the custom class is the synth audio source class, which does a little more work. Class, and then it's over here, right? Class, synth audio source, public audio source, right? It extends, it inherits. Are those the same words in this context? I don't remember. There's a difference between extending and inheriting from. Maybe it's only a Java difference or something. I don't know. Oh boy. Public, let me just read this stuff. It's too tough to read through it and try to figure out what's going on, only to then come down and be like, oh, it just tells me. So at 1 here, where it says, for auto I is less than 4 I++, synth.add voice new. I mean, I can tell. I should just read through it until I don't know and just remember that I can pop down here when it's confusing. Because when it's confusing, a lot of times I spend like 20 minutes thinking about it when I could just pop down here. So this adds 4 voices. And then synth add sound. For synth add voice, new sine wave voice. And is sine wave voice something we custom implement? Or is it already built into JUCE? I don't remember. Don't care. Synth add sound, new sine wave sound. We had the sounds that the synthesizer knows which sound it can play. And that's not being done for each voice. It's just the whole synthesizer gets the sound. You can use multiple instances of it, I guess. Void set using sine wave sound, synth.clear sounds. I don't know when I'd use that. Void prepare to play. Int samples per block expected. Double sample rate. Alright, I guess we'll read that. 3. The synthesizer needs to know the sample rate of the audio output. Synth.set current playback sample rate. And what is the synth? Where did the synth object come from? Oh, private synthesizer synth. It's all at the bottom. That's... I don't know if I like that. Putting everything at the bottom's like, where'd that come from? Oh, down there. Hi, Sarah. You learning JUCE? That's my best Jason Thunderberger impression. Live dashboard. Hour and 40 minutes in. I'm doing work, guys. I'm doing it. Okay. The synth, which we just said we made in this synth audio source, in synth audio source class, which is a custom class, we made a synth. And that's just the class that already exists. Portugal, Bali, and other cheap places to retire abroad. Go to Bali and do some gamelan stuff. That would be cool. Too bad I'm not quite ready to retire. My nest egg is, well, not only is there not an egg, there's not a nest or a tree or a seed for a tree, which is kind of like an egg for a tree, except not really at all. Just wanted to go full circle. Void get next audio block. Const audio source channel info. Reference buffer to fill. Buffer to fill dot clear active buffer region. MIDI buffer incoming MIDI. This is gonna be just crap I copy and paste because I don't fucking know what's going on. Keyboard state dot process next MIDI buffer. Incoming MIDI. Into that you pass incoming MIDI buffer to fill start sample. Buffer to fill num samples true. Synth render next block. The pointer buffer to fill dot buffer. Incoming MIDI buffer to fill start sample. Buffer to fill num samples. All right, 4 and 5. In the get next audio block, we pull buffers of MIDI data from the MIDI keyboard state object. These buffers of MIDI data are passed to the synthesizer, which will be used to render the voices using the timestamps of the notes on and off, of the note on and note off messages and other MIDI channel voice messages. Warning: synthesizer voice objects must be added to one and only one synthesizer object. The synthesizer object manages the lifetime of the voices. Synthesizer sound objects can be shared between synthesizer objects if you wish. The synthesizer sound class is a type of reference counted object class. Therefore, the synthesizer sound class is a type of reference counted object class, comma. Therefore, the lifetime of the synthesizer sound objects is handled automatically. If you need to keep a pointer to a synthesizer sound object, you should store it in a your sound class pointer variable for this memory management to work. Yep, well that's over my head. Sine wave sound class. One sound class is very simple. It doesn't even need to contain any data, our sound class. It just needs to report whether the sound should play on particular MIDI channels and specific notes or note ranges on that channel. In our simple case, it just returns true for both the applies to note and applies to channel functions. But you could say, don't play it above this note or below that note or on this channel if you wanted to. If you really, really, really wanted to. Fuck me. Struct sine wave sound. Where does this happen? Applies to note. Int override return true. What's this int doing here? I have no clue. Sine wave voice class is a bit more complex. It needs to maintain the state of one of the voices of the synthesizer. For our sine wave, we need these data members. Right, current angle, oh boy, angle delta, level, and tail off. Right, we'll just sine wave sensor for the first three. I vaguely remember them. Current angle. That's because it's not just this flat decay, it's an exponential or logarithmic one. The tail off is used to give each voice a slightly soft release to its amplitude envelope. This gives each voice a slight fade out at the end rather than stopping abruptly. Angle. Oh, that's like the whole thing where they're rendering the sine wave in real time instead of doing the whole wavetable synthesis thing, which is just, I get it, but then it's also like, hey, here's some bad practice just for practice. When it comes to not practicing things, do best practices, but when just practicing, do bad practices. That's hilarious, right? It's the funniest thing anyone's ever noticed about anything. Oh boy. So, sine wave voice state. The only new thing here is the tail off. These three have to do with the actual dippity doopity of the sine wave. Checking which sound can be played. The synthesizer voice can play sound function must be overwritten to return whether the voice can play a sound. We could just return true in this case, but our example illustrates how to use dynamic cast to check the type of sound class being passed in. So bool, can play sound, synthesizer sound pointer sound, override, return dynamic cast, sine wave sound, pointer sine wave sound. And alright, the pointer and then the arrow is like a thing. I don't remember what it means in C++. But sound is not equal to null pointer. So they're saying as long as it's not equal to null pointer, or right, return the dynamic cast of sine wave sound. So it's like whatever it needs to be. Pass it into the sound and then check to see if it's not a null pointer. If it's a null pointer, it can't play the sound. If it is a null pointer, whatever. Whichever way makes sense, because I'm sure it's right in the tutorial. Let me find that in the program or in the code. Oh, there it is. Bool can play sound. Starting a voice. A voice is started by the owning synthesizer. A voice is started by the owning synthesizer by calling our synthesizer voice start note function, which we must override. Void start note. Int MIDI note number, float velocity, synthesizer sound pointer, int current pitch wheel position. I don't understand why some of them have the commented out pieces. It's just so that they don't have to implement them, but they want to leave them there to show that that's how it usually works. I don't know. So you got current angle, level. Oh, current angle equals 0. Level equals velocity times 0.15. Is velocity 0 to 1? Whatever. Tail off equals 0. Auto cycles per second equals MIDI message. Get MIDI note in hertz. What a useless, terrible function. It's not really useless, but it is terrible. Auto cycles per second equals seconds per second divided by get sample rate. Alright, and that's useful info, how many cycles per sample. And you get that by knowing the sample rate, which is oh, we already have the sample rate, right? It's a different thing. And then angle delta, oh, how much the sine wave goes around the circle, our lovely unit circle, times 0.15, so it's not a unit circle anymore. Hooray. Angle delta equals cycles per sample times 2 times math constant double pi. So we just change it into what, radians there by multiplying it by that? Probably, I think that's the case. Doesn't really matter. Again, most of this should be familiar to you from the building a sine wave synthesizer. The tail off value is set to 0 at the start of each voice. We use the velocity of the MIDI note on event to control the level of the voice. Rendering a voice. Now it's time to make a sound. Oh, I'm so tired. The synthesizer voice render next block function must be overridden to generate the audio. Render next block. Got the can play, got the start note, stop note, pitch wheel moved, controller moved, the render next block. 7, 6, where's 6? 6 is first. 6 is down here. Alright, let me read through it first. If angle delta is not equal to 0, then if tail off is greater than 0, then while negative number samples is greater than or equal to 0, are those just two minus signs? Is that what I'm looking at? I don't understand. What number is that? Oh, it's not a number. Duh. Sure, one more. That'd be great. Nope, one less. 7. So, okay. 6. This loop is used for the normal state of the voice while the key is being held down. It's this while. Right. If the tail off is greater than 0. Or is it if else this. So if tail off is greater than 0, do this. And this is the normal state going through. Notice that we use the audio sample buffer add sample function, which mixes the current sample with the value already at index start sample. How about already? Does no one proofread this? And has no one just mentioned to them that they're... I mean, I'm not going to do it, I guess, so no one else does it. No reason to expect anyone else to shoot them an email saying, hey, did you know you're missing a Y? But it just kind of shows the level of polish that's lacking in these tutorials. What am I, like, about 2/3 of the way through? So right, if the thing is currently being held down, while... Alright, 6, yeah, which makes the current sample with the value already at index start sample. This is because the synthesizer will be iterating over all of the voices. It is the responsibility of each voice to mix its output with the current contents of the buffer. Right. It's got to mix it. Negative number of samples. I don't really understand why that would be a thing. But fine, auto current sample equals float standard sine current angle times level. So yeah, every time they're determining the level of the sine wave, which is pretty stupid because you're supposed to do wave tables for stuff like this, but they're just doing it because they're showing you how it would work, I guess. And then for auto I equals output buffer dot get number of channels negative I. Is that a thing? Is that its own special thing? It's greater than or equal to 0. Output buffer dot add sample I start sample current sample. So to add sample, fudge. Current angle plus equals angle delta, and then start sample plus start sample. And the plus start sample thing is for somewhere probably in the add sample function. I would say if I remember correctly, but that's not me remembering. That's me thinking. Ugh. 7. That's up at the top of there. When the key has been released, the tail off value will be greater than 0. You can see the synthesis algorithm is similar. Right? Synthesis stuff is similar. But there's just going to be some decay special variables affecting how loud it is. We use a simple exponential decay envelope shape. That's 8. Where's 8? Tail off times equals 0.99. When the tail off value is small, we determine that the voice has ended. We must call the synthesizer voice clear current note function at this point so that the voice is reset and available to be reused. Which is kind of interesting. So if you hit the note again before the tail off is done, nothing will actually happen? Is this another like bad design, bad practice just for practice? Whatever. It is very important that you take note of the start sample argument. The synthesizer is very likely to call the render next block function midway through one of its output blocks. This is because the notes may start on any sample. These start times are based on the timestamps of the MIDI data received. Oh, okay, start sample argument. Auto current sample equals float. Oh boy. Do I really understand that? Not quite. I understand the idea of it, but not the flow. So where is the start sample argument used? Here. Every time while num samples is greater than 0, we plus plus start sample. And then up here, when we say output buffer add sample, I start sample current sample. Because we want to know where it started to know how to synthesize it. Because it may have started halfway through a block. I'm not really sure. That's alright. I don't have to be sure. I'm just going to copy paste code eventually and see what breaks and what doesn't break. And that's where the actual learning's going to happen. I just have to be generally familiar with the code to know what to copy and paste. Oh, it's an exercise. Oh no, I don't have the energy to do an exercise. So it'll be just like the the tail off, except it'll be a tail on. Excuse me. Well, what I'm going to do is put some food in my belly and then try the exercise. I haven't skipped an exercise already, have I? Nope, just a warning and a note. Good. So, yeah. I'll be back.